When you're ready, let yourself settle into a ping tsuo posture, just balanced sitting. With every exhalation, letting go further. With every inhalation, becoming more quiet and still inside. Today we're going to place an emphasis upon softening the hips and gua. And so as you sit, make certain that you are balanced comfortably just in front of these sitting bones. Shoulders resting comfortably, balanced over the hips, crown of the head floating up. You can exhale through the mouth if that's helpful. After each exhalation, your whole body is a bit softer, a bit more settled into where you are sitting or laying on the floor. And with every inhalation, your mind becomes a bit more clear and still, a bit more present. Each breath bringing you more and more into the present moment. A few more minutes. As your mind wanders away, soften around the thoughts. Release your grip on the distraction and let yourself fall effortlessly back into the present moment. Softer and softer, more and more present. Don't sink below the level of consciousness. Instead, you're letting go of the things pulling you away from awareness. Of course, this is more difficult when you're exhausted, because your conscious state and your dream state start to overlap a bit. The yang spirit and the yin spirit tend to mix. And so it's harder to be present because your dream state is always just there, ready to blend. That's why we need a good night's sleep with just quiet sleep and dreams, and then a good day being awake. And this makes it easier to become clear and to not be lost in the dream state. Softening the crown of your head. Remember to release any held tension in between each practice so that you're not carrying tension from one practice into another. Feeling your awareness soaking into the tissues just beneath the skin on top of the bone. The warmth and the liveliness gathering in your palms, the softness gathering in your palms also transferring. Softening that space alongside your nose. Anna, you made it. Welcome. You know class is going to go great when Anna shows up. She's the good luck charm. And for those of you who are watching and perhaps you are new to this particular practice, you can either let me know in the comment section that you're new and I can include a different level of detail, or you can simply click below the video for a link to an introductory lesson explaining how this particular set works, how to best practice it. You can always take your time with all of these movements, spend more time in one direction or another. You can go slowly, you can go quickly, but you want to find the pace that allows that layer beneath the skin to soften open. So become more and more aware of that space so you can make good decisions about it. Anna is a metal monkey. I have a very good friend who is a metal monkey. Yeah, I would swear that my skin is actually getting thicker, plumper in some ways.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's like viscerally, tactily different. This head is fascinating.
Do you know which channels, or of course you know probably, but which channels would induce that, whatever that plumping is?
Well, I'm feeling it all over my body, and so it's all the different channels. That's just a quality of good chi and blood flow.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. There's not like a particular channel for
that does that kind of thing. You know, when a channel is full, it warms and protects and allows good circulation. That's like the functional quality of chi.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like chi is separate from the body. It's a function of the body working well. So part of what we're doing is helping chi to flow by assisting circulation and warming and these kinds of qualities. But by letting our awareness and emotions soak into the fascial layer, it has a certain different effect. And just everything, I don't know, I'm just noticing obvious differences that I hadn't noticed before. And so it's pretty neat. Remember, as you slide your hands up and down, that there will be one finger behind the ear, 2 fingers sometimes, and you want to warm and soften this hook, the back hook of the ear, as well as this entire bony complex where it meets the neck, under the jaw. Take your time to warm and release that as well. It's a high stool.
It's nice. Actually, yeah, I'm starting to get used to this one.
Mm-hmm. When your mind wanders away, simply soften around the distraction. Don't pull it back. Let it come back. And take the time to settle your qi before we move on. If it takes you several extra minutes, you just wait. Catch up with us when you're done. But don't fake it. See if you can listen to your body and make the actual changes you're looking for. Meet each marker and then move on. Life is pretty good. I'm seeing all the birds dancing around the trees over here. Does it feel like a new year to you?
I don't know. It does feel like there's a new cycle starting with the seasonal changes and everything.
Feels new.
Mm-hmm.
Last night we started the first episode of our podcast, which probably won't be public for a while until Mel is comfortable with it. But I thought it was fun. We talked about the Book of Changes, the I Ching, the Zhou Yi. Softening the solar plexus, taking the time to let go, to feel warmth and ease, that quality of friendly attention and the softness of your hands. All of that reaches into that layer just beneath the skin. You don't have to push hard. Real connection does not require force. Just authenticity, stillness. Oh. I was so busily thinking about the Dantian, I went straight to the center and skipped the arms. That's silly.
I didn't notice either. It makes you feel better.
I apologize for the slightly out of order sequence. The new year's got me all mixed up. The dragon's messing with my mind. Feeling that space. Yeah, we need Steph here to correct. Steph, whip me into shape. Encouraging the release of the waist, the softening of the body. For those of you who are able to begin feeling that space beneath the skin, that space that we're calling the fascial layer, but is really much more. There's vascularity there, there's empty space. Call it the Suoli. There's movement here. The space between. And as your awareness soaks into that space, perhaps you feel warmth, liveliness, even breath. And you might seek out those places that are difficult for your awareness to touch. Areas of stagnation or places that your awareness has not learned to move. And go extra slow through those places until you can begin to feel more deeply and more clearly. That's one of the wonderful side effects of this particular set. Your mind beginning to settle into the body. And remember that today, ostensibly, the focus is actually on the hips. And so as you sit, in the very least, make sure that your hips are soft and that the movement is coming across here rather than across your back or your shoulders. Simply folding here at this joint, easily, freely. Yeah, it's a nice day. Over here distracting me, being distracted by the trees and the reflection of the sky in Melanie's eyes. Remember to be gentle and soft, present.
You weirdo.
Also, if you're able to become aware of this layer and this space, at various points along the channels that we've been studying, sometimes the qi gathers and sinks deep. And these fascial layers also will dive deep, for instance, into the joints. And so we have this awareness reaching out beneath the skin. It might feel warm or open or full. But then also you might find that awareness being drawn down into the joints or into the channels. And as long as you're not just imagining it, as long as you're not being caught in your visualization centers and you're actually experiencing this depth of flow in your body, and that's a very good sign. We start to be able to feel the channel flow through our bodies. Make sure I turned this off. I did. Now I'm always paranoid that somebody will call in and interrupt the class.
Make sure my phone's off.
Oh, not on yours, but on mine. A couple of points that I probably should have mentioned yesterday, but that are really useful today as well. I've described various points on the hands, for instance, between the second and third knuckle. If you make a little triangle from those top knuckles there, and the little hole between the tendons, this is a point that is famous for treating stiff neck. Over here, between the fourth and fifth knuckles in the same kind of location, this is a point that's famous for opening stuck ears that are filled with fluid or filled with pressure. Very useful point. Above both of those, higher up, where these two tendons come together and form a V, where they meet at the top, up near the wrist. You can get your fingers in there and touch those points. Those are both famous for lower back pain. They're called Yao Tong Shui. Yao is the lower back and the hip tension that relates to that. And so if you are somebody that has regular back pain, you may want to include these points as well. Lower back pain in particular, near the hip. Those points. As you soften those points as well, that happens to relate to the lower back, just as part of the microcosm of the body. And that's on both hands. Just useful points to know.
Are we on the other arm now?
On the other arm. But the way this class is going, maybe you could start at the feet. Kerbuffled. Confuzzled. Easing open this area. Remember that this is the front of the shoulder and you want it to release over the top. Many people collapse the front of their shoulders and so it freezes here in the front. And then to fix that, they pull their shoulders back. So now they're frozen in the back and in the front. And so instead we want to soften this line open. Layers and layers of bound up fascial lining. Releasing it, using your intention and the gentleness of your touch to guide things open. A little every day. You don't have to force or tear it open. We just coax it open. This whole area warmed and softened. If you need to, you can use your other hand. But in the very least, do not tighten this shoulder. You can take breaks if your arm starts to get tired and go back. Eventually, as your shoulder stops clenching to create all the movements and your body becomes softer, then all of these positions and movements become easy. They don't feel like anything. But it is good to get in the habit of taking your break in between, waiting until you feel open and whole again, and then continuing. I'm trying to get in the habit of demonstrating it so that people remember to not catch tension from one movement into the next. Remember that space here just behind the elbow can sometimes use extra warmth. Softening the lung channel. And if you happen to be working on the various arm channels, the 6 arm channels, maybe you can recite to yourself as a memory practice the 3 yang arm channels and the 3 yin arm channels. Do I have a favorite meridian? Gosh, I've never been asked that question before. Let me think about it.
Ariel?
What?
You didn't get it.
No.
Never mind. It's not important. It was a really lame joke.
Is this a mermaid joke?
Mhm.
What did it have to do with meridian?
I don't know. My mind heard mermaid.
Ah, got it.
I don't even know of any other mermaids.
As a gift, Melanie and I were recording duets for her sister. And we were singing very many songs.
That's why I have mermaids on the brain.
That's why. Now I have it on my mind.
I'm sorry, I totally detracted from that question. Do you have a favorite meridian?
There, you see her sitting there across the way. She don't got a lot to say. Something about her. That's going to be in my head all day.
So that's a no?
I'm
No
thinking.
favorites?
I am considering. Maybe I'd have to break it up into various things. Maybe my favorite channel to treat, like in the sense of most commonly treated. With acupuncture, perhaps the spleen and stomach channels, or the lung spleen channel. I tend to think in terms of the 6-channel theory, the Tai Yin. It's one long channel that goes from the foot up, but with like body work stuff, when I'm giving corrections and things, I tend to often give corrections on the gallbladder channel. So that's a really good one in doing Qigong work on people, because people are so gripped there that they often require help opening those channels by hand, like up and through here and these things,
sure.
you know?
Yeah, those are really tight on me.
But getting better.
Getting better, that's right.
Anna, do you have a favorite channel? Since you brought it up.
When I was in high school, my favorite channel was MTV.
I didn't really have a TV as a kid. Anna likes the kidney channel. That is a good one.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
Mm-hmm. Chris, have you discovered a favorite channel yet? Chris has been diligently studying. I have come to also, for Qigong practices, come to love the Ren and the kidney channels here, because this is part of how we sink. Qi sinks down. The gallbladder and the bladder channels are both really long. They are very interesting, though. Speaking of bladder channel, there's this muscle that connects this bone that sticks out here, the greater trochanter. It connects across to the tailbone and some of the things up here, and it pulls across, and people tend to be gripped backward this way. It's often a result of anterior pelvic tilt and lower back tension and these kinds of things. And so we want to soften all of these connection points in through here. Again, we're not trying to dip in and get to the musculature. That's not the practice. But there is a lot of reinforcing that happens because of the fascial system. The fascia it's like spider silk. It's stronger than spring steel. And so we use it to reinforce and cover and armor. And so every time we have these lines of tension and patterns of damage, we reinforce it with these structures, and they become solid, and things can't conduct and move through them well. And so we also want to release off to the side. So continuing to soften all through here. We can also come around to the front. So these points that run down to the feet all through here. You can soften the top where this bundle of connections are. And through here we soften that point. This is often a point that we make connections with during Qigong and Taiji practice. In standing, we want this bundle to be completely soft. This area becomes its own kind of cave, a release space. As we step and move in Taiji as well, this becomes hollow, but for most people, it's a big bundle of gripping. Mm-hmm. And so we want to learn how to soften it. Even when our knee comes up or we step or we kick, this can remain soft. It should remain soft. Also around through here. Softening this greater trochanter, just the part of the thigh bone that comes up before it dives into the hip. The hips are like a big, or the pelvis is like a big bowl. And we have this wonderful little bone that goes and fits in there and rotates around. Nothing quite touches anything else, but we want to help relieve all the pressure that we can. I hope you both don't mind me keeping you a few minutes past time since we had our fun little, hopefully invisible tech problem. I try not to keep Anna up past her bedtime. She becomes grouchy And then we're all in for it. Softening behind the knee, having some sense of awareness of the space inside the knee opening. And then the musculature just alongside of the shin bone. Stomach 36. Emphasizing the releasing of that hip, softening of the glutes, the admiration of my new socks.
I stare at the red circles long enough, they start to move around.
That was the LSD that I slipped into your tea this morning.
Oh, that's so hot.
Mhm. Remember that all through this area, the living part that's on top of the bone, the periosteum, connects and grows directly into the fascial layers, which connect to the skin. And so we want to allow this gentle pressure to reach just beneath the skin to move those layers of fascia, to warm them, to stimulate the bone itself, but not pressing into the bone. Letting your awareness soak into the tissues. As you do, perhaps you notice places that your mind won't go, or that there's a sense of obstruction. I have a sore spot on the bottom of my foot. I'm going to work on that a bit. And just as a reminder, like for me, part of the reason we take the time to connect to every inch of our body is we can look for those spots that suddenly seem to be alerting us about something. Hey, what about this? Try this. And so I had a small sore spot on my foot, which is not usually there. Now it's already dissipating, but we check in with ourselves. We see how things are going, see what's what. One of the favorite practices I like to teach my clients often is how to read their own tongue, because the tongue contains a huge amount of information for our health. In essence, it's the most external of the internal organs. And so you stick your tongue out and you can look at it in the mirror and go, this is changing in my body. This has just happened. Especially once you look every day and you look one day and suddenly it's very different, you know something's going on. And it's a wonderful way to just have the habit of peering into your health a little bit more closely and paying attention. I don't know what you're talking about, Chris. Delicious. A lovely green tea. Very nice. Lovely.
Lovely.
Remember that we are softening the hips. So please do release. So my computer just did a funny thing while I was watching it. On Zoom these days, when I teach Zoom classes, Zoom now recognizes my gestures. So if I stick my tongue out at the screen or give a peace sign or a thumbs up, then Zoom sends that emoji to the screen. And just now, for some reason, it thought that I was giving a thumbs up, and it made the thumbs up thing appear on my screen really big.
I saw that on mine too.
On yours as well? And I assume it was just like the shape of my body or something. It decided that was a thumbs up. I'll try it again. Nope, didn't work this time. So I have no idea what's causing it. But I wonder if YouTube just updated or something, and that's why my phone shut off. Because I don't think it's ever done that before. Remember that you are softening here. So sit in such a way that it will be comfortable for you to ease yourself open. Please do not try to stretch. Don't push and pull on yourself. Open your tissues instead.
Chris says, "You sure it was Mel you slipped that LSD to, John?"
But you saw the thumb too on your screen?
I did, yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be on the recording as well. If you are able to follow the saliva down, the movement of the saliva, the chi of the saliva, as though it sinks all the way down into that space behind the navel, it helps to guide your awareness down. Allowing everything to sink and to settle, become quiet, You can use any hand position you want. You can, as long as your hips are settled so that you're able to release forward. You notice I'm not slouching or reaching or doing this. My hips open. Even this is a little bit too low for me. I should be sitting on a little bit of something. But even here, I can just settle my hips forward so my weight is resting in front of the sitting bones. I soften my neck upward. My shoulders fall alongside my body, and then they can rest here. There's a number of various postures that people will take in order to correct various misalignments in their body, often in their shoulders. For instance, for those people who often have their shoulders rolled forward, it is often taught to let your arms fall open like this because it helps to unroll that area of condensed space. For people who sit like this, very often they're told to draw themselves across this way or to place their hands open or across from each other as a way to open their back. And so that's one of the reasons for a lot of these various shapes that people take. But the one that you'll see me do from time to time is called the Ziwu hand position. Wait. If I take my thumb and middle finger and touch them together, and I will touch them together around the base of my ring finger. Like that. And then unite those fingers together as well. Don't worry about which hand is which. This shape helps to sink qi downward. There's a lot of various shapes. Each one does something a little bit different in the body, structurally or to hold mental postures. But this one is a useful way to train your system to sink downward and to collect. This is my New Year's gift to you. And then it is this shape within which you'll see me salute. So rather than, there's a very traditional Chinese martial arts style position, which kind of looks like this, or like this, some variation of this. But the Daoist version is that one that I was just doing. Like that. So it looks very similar, but it's secretly a yin and yang sign. The Tao is hidden within. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the little box. I appreciate that you both stuck with the class, even with all the fun ins and outs occurring. It's very nice to have you here, Anna. I'm very grateful when you join us. Mel, do you have a favorite channel that you've been working on? You tend to work on that, your Mingmen, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of focused on most. Mm-hmm. Releasing low back tension.
So you could say that Du channel, which runs down your spine.
Mm. And liver chi constraint.
But that's like a whole body.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not just the liver channel. The liver channel is just a space that's located, that's compared as part of that overall picture. But liver chi constraint, it has the same name, but that's when it gets confusing. It's actually, it's in every cell of your body. Anytime that something isn't flowing, if something is gripping, whether it's in your mind or often in your joints or even constriction of your pupils due to stress, that's all liver chi constraint.
Oh, okay. I got confused because when I would mention that I'm feeling a lot of tension around the belt channel, you would often say that's liver chi constraint. And so I kind of associated this area with liver chi.
Well, and it is often associated with liver chi constraint.
Sure, yeah. But it's not limited to that area.
Not limited to the channel, no. Often associated, but that it can be anywhere in the body.
Chris says, yeah, that's my favorite too. The GV. It made me release my breath for first time in a long time. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really helpful.
Yeah, aren't those feelings just amazing?
When it goes, yeah. And the breath doesn't just release in one direction, it releases in all the directions. And so you'll constantly be discovering new areas that you can release your breath into. First, it's this vertical breath, and then it goes outward into the tissues in all these really interesting ways through the body. It's really amazing, even through this fascial layer that we're talking about. It's just wonderful. It feels so good. All right. Thank you, my friends. Enjoy your practice. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.